Is there anybody out there?
Only the fans.
Oh, wait,
Only
wait,
the-
wait. I heard stuff. I heard stuff.
Only
Is there anybody out
Yep, we're
there?
good now.
Ooh.
Is there anybody out there?
We good?
Yep.
We have all the
Alright.
sound. We have all the sound. Very well. Very, very auspicious beginning. Welcome everyone to R&R Productions 4-part Vaesen mini campaign hosted by myself, your GM, Chris. We'll be playing a scenario that I wrote specifically for this game. I would like to make a quick note to say that it is our first time, as well for players, for myself, running Vaesen, playing Vaesen. So you'll have to excuse us if we have some little hiccups with the rules, so on and so forth. As I was explaining to my players, I do plan on, if needed, making a ruling on the spot rather than spend too much time looking at the books. And as soon as the game's over, I'll obviously very quickly and very obsessively check the rules, and we will fix it for next time. But we thank you very much for joining us on this little dark mystery of ours, and we certainly hope you enjoy. I would like to first go ahead and introduce the players for tonight's little jaunt into the mythic north. First, we will start with Kristen, who is also our wonderful host here. Kristen, if you'd like to tell our friends here about yourself and where they can find you.
Hi, I'm Kristen, your very humble player tonight on the channel for the first time. That's exciting. You can find me at Darcerilish for all the things. And yeah, check my schedule there. That's the easiest thing. That's me.
Very, very good. Next, I'm just going to go around in order of my screen here. Next, we have Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I can be found online at Kevran Games. Tonight, I am playing a character with these other fine folks. When I'm not playing on these channels here, I'm also a host of the Game Night Heroes podcast that Kristen and Rob may have been on before. But I'm happy to be here tonight playing Elias Johansson. So he's going to be a good fun time. He's a little pet today. So.
Very cool. Yes, you have your lovely little dog with you, and we'll meet him shortly.
Indeed.
Robert, a well-known figure in these parts, I do believe.
Yes, so I'm Robert, Phantom NJ, Phantom NJ _D&D on Twitter. You can find me all over the place. You can find me in the Rainbows and Razor Blades Discord, among other places, occasionally playing here, like tonight. You'll also be able to find me on Wednesdays, occasionally on Blue Box RPG. Actually, this Wednesday, I will be guest hosting their War Masters Arcanum. That is at 6:45 Central Time. And occasionally, well, normally on Mondays, I stream on my own channel, but that is on hiatus for this month, so I can play here. And you can also find me on Time Lord's Wife's Discord and stream as moderating and occasionally running games there. So, tonight I will be, and this month I will be playing Father Stanislav Janikowski, a priest from the free city of Krakow. Pleasure to meet you.
Sorry, thank you very much, Rob. And finally, a feller whose hat is only upstaged by his mustache, Chad.
Thank you. Hello, it's me, Chad. Sometimes you can refer to me as Real CMG, like if I'm on Twitter. You might refer to me or know me as North Shore DM right here on the Twitches, where I play and run games over on the Superior Adventurers Guild Twitch channel. I'm playing Arn Kjeldsen today. I'm excited. He has a mustache.
And a glorious mustache it is.
The mustache of +2 occult persuasion.
Oh, nice.
It's not the Poirot double mustache, but
no, but it's you got to give it time. It's coming into its own. All right. So, and I'm Christian. The Bleak Season on the Bird app, and that's about it. Everyone ready? All right, let us begin then this little jaunt into the folkloric and mythic North. I'm going to shut my phone's yap before it causes greater. All right, so it is 1821. Humans have mostly fled the forests, hills, and fields and valleys that were once their homes, and found solace amid the brick-walled and cobblestone streets of the growing cities. Technology and science have replaced folk wisdom, and under the leaden skies fed by the belching smokestacks of factories, people forget the powers and spirits that used to work alongside them. But the spirits they do not forget. In the deepest, darkest parts of the country, the creatures of legend and folklore still live, hiding, but always present. These creatures, the Vaesen, once worked in tandem with humans, but now find themselves more often than not at odds with them. But you can see them, and so now it is up to you to unravel their mysteries. The players, or characters, I should say, all from different parts of Scandinavia, some by way of America or Poland and a few other cities, have found themselves at some point in their lives undergoing a traumatic event that has opened their senses to the world of the spirits around them. And since that time, they've been able to see strange creatures hiding around corners and down dark alleyways and in the cupboards and houses, and hearing strange noises, and some of them have been haunted themselves. This, more than anything, has led them, when they received a letter that hinted at such events, led them to decide to follow up on this letter and make their way to Uppsala in Sweden to find the originator of the letter. This letter, which I will read to you right now, went thusly. Uppsala, December 13th, 1821. My name is Solveig Norden, and I am a nurse at the Nyberg Sanitarium in Uppsala. My charge, Miss Astrid Hellstrom, has asked that I write to you today to invite you to meet with her here on the day of December 21st. She realizes you do not know each other, but she has asked that I write the following. Quote, I see them too, and I need your help. She also asked me to include the following sketch that I made as per her direct instructions, which is a sketch that we see right now in the other box below. I include here enough money for passage to Uppsala. Your lodgings have been reserved at the Grand Hotel Hornen near the university. Should you choose to attend, Miss Elstrom will also see that you are compensated for your time. She would like me to indicate that even the most cursory of research about her name will reveal to you enough to intrigue you and warrant the effort of making the journey. Once you are settled in, please visit us at the sanitarium at 2 p.m. I will wait for you in the garden, and I will know you. Sincerely, Solveig Norden, Nyberg Sanitarium, Uppsala. Before you depart and make your way to Uppsala, I would like to ask you if you would like to gather what information you can about the Hellstrom family or Astrid herself, and so on and so forth. And if so, how would you like to go about doing so?
Katya would like to look into her crystal ball to see if it gives any information.
Use her crystal ball, does she? Give me a logic roll.
I forget which dice we're rolling.
You roll a number of d6 equal to your logic in this particular case.
Right. And then I get a +1 because of my crystal ball.
There you go. You're looking for 6, and you let me know how many 6s, if
No
any.
6s.
No 6s. That's all right. You've been hiding for too long, staying low, trying to keep your head down, and thus not been able to gather too much information about this particular event. Anybody else?
I would probably do a little bit of digging myself as a private investigator. I would.
You're a private eye.
I'm watching you.
I would probably use I'll use a much more mundane method of research, which is I will read newspapers.
Well, give me a logic plus investigation roll. Again, looking for 6. You only need 1, but if you get
I
more,
roll my logic plus my investigation.
investigation.
Holy cow!
That's right.
I got 1.
All right, good enough. So the Hellstrom family was a very old and rich family with distant ties to the monarchy in Sweden. The Hellstroms made their money in lumber and land development starting in the 18th century, when Oscar Hellstrom began operating a massive and very successful lumber cutting and hauling business in the north. The quickly industrializing kingdom's hunger for building material and fuel was a gold mine. In time, their business became more urban as the landscape changed. Stores, hotels, and restaurants in several cities, as well as several factories in and around Uppsala and in the north. They also operate a maritime shipping concern and several other incidental businesses. 9 years ago, a strange accident occurred at the main Hellstrom residence in Uppsala, Hellstrom House. It is believed that a chemical experiment that Nils, the oldest son of the family, and a student at Uppsala University, was performing in his laboratory went wrong, and while the family slept, a powerful and deadly gas escaped the laboratory and dispersed itself throughout the house. Every member of the household died in their sleep. Only the youngest Hellstrom daughter, Astrid, who had been sleepwalking and had slipped out of her bedroom window, escaped with her life.
Well, hot damn.
Hot damn.
And that was in 1816, did you say?
Yeah. 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
That would be 1813. No, 18.
Math is hard, y'all.
1812. Because we're in 1821, correct?
We are in 21, yes. Anybody else trying to find some other bits?
I think that Elias would go to the Society of Writers that he is a part of. The other men there have a certain way of knowing things. They're a bit more cosmopolitan than he is. So he doesn't particularly usually come to the parties that they all come to. So they're going to be a little bit surprised to find him there. And he'll have his typical calmed manner about him as he looks around and asks for information, whether or not they know anything about these tales of a family of this name.
All right, so how about you give me a learning and logic roll?
Learning and logic. Okay, it's going to be 6 dice. And we're looking for 6s, you said?
Yes.
And that'll be 3 then.
Holy cannoli.
Nice.
You pick up all sorts of scuttlebutt, all sorts of strange information about the events at Hellstrom House. You find out that the surviving daughter, Astrid, apparently attempted to enter the house when she realized that something was wrong, and she was struck blind by the gas or the poison that had escaped throughout the house. She was subsequently housed and cared for at the Nyberg Sanitarium, where she spent several years in a catatonic state before suddenly waking up 7 years later on her 16th birthday, which was 2 years ago. You picked this up from a doctor who was discussing some of the patients that he'd been seeing at the Nyberg Sanitarium, and he'd heard of Astrid from a colleague of his. Another person who is a writer of note in the business and the legal field will tell you that as the only surviving member of the family, Astrid stands to inherit the castle, Hellstrom House, and the entire fortune, though being both underaged and in a catatonic state. She was not able to lay claim to any of it. There is a family lawyer, a German by the name of Bertolt Gerhardt, who has apparently staunchly defended her inheritance from hundreds of distant relatives of former business partners and rivals of her family. Should she at some point be declared of sound mind after her 10th birthday, she would become one of the richest women ever in Scandinavia.
Interesting. So she's blind, you said.
That's right.
Okay.
And catatonic.
And catatonic. And Father Robert, is there anything you would like to?
So part of the backstory for Stanislav, Father Stanislav, is that he was Elias's deceased wife's confessor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they became aware of each other. He found out through the deceased wife that Elias was having these visions, has not revealed his own at all, and was kind of relying on Elias to gather information, though he did plan on checking in with the churches when they arrived in Sweden, or where in the region of near Uppsala, to see if there was more information, because he figured it'd probably be easier, unless he knew about the royal connection, because then there was a chance that he could check the church archives locally.
Well, I will tell you a piece of information that you would have gotten is that you would have been told that there are numerous instances of occult groups that tend to spring up in the various parts of town, that the church is constantly in a struggle with people who seem to perhaps think that the old ways are better, and who seek ancient mysteries and ancient knowledge and so on and so forth. Most of it, of course, is hogwash, but once in a while, people do take it a little too seriously. There are some rumors you remember hearing that the males in the Hellstrom family had been involved in some such occult business, some group called the Dawn Star Fraternity, which on the surface appears to be some sort of, occult, supernatural sort of practicing group, but is mostly believed to be really just a sort of fraternity for powerful men who like to hang out together and share influence among each other. And you would have heard that as I said, the males of the family were involved in this, although the latest scuttlebutt that perhaps Elias would have picked up on that end, since you were relying on him also, would be that the last male, Magnus, Astrid's father, sort of stepped away from that and had kind of put that at arm's length a little bit. All right, so you travel to Uppsala, having received this letter now, and it having piqued your curiosity. You travel to Uppsala, each making your own way to the city, and eventually arriving at the sanitarium, which is a very imposing brick building up on a hill with a huge tower in the middle and a big clock on top, some flags around. The land around it is a nice, beautiful garden area, although of course it is currently snowing, it being December, and there's a thick coat of snow over everything, and you see a wrought iron fence, a very gothic looking sort of wrought iron fence that surrounds the entire compound. And when you present yourself to the door, you find it currently locked, and there's a little guardhouse next to it, but it seems to be unoccupied right now. Who would be the first to arrive? Who would be the person that would just show up, like be the first one in there?
Well, probably Arn, I would think. He's a pretty go-getter.
Yep, that's canon now. I'm a go-getter.
All right, well, Arn, you arrive in front of these gates. They are locked. Please introduce yourself and give us a little description of your character.
Sure. Arn is a Swedish man, like me, but more Swedish. 'Cause I'm only a little Swedish, but he's all the way Swedish.
He's very Swedish.
Yeah, very, very. He is in his early 40s, a little bit of gray on his light beard and mustache. He wears a nice kind of like a English cut suit. I don't know if that's a real thing, but he just came from England.
It's a thing now.
Yeah, and he wears a nice Tribbley hat. Maybe his clothes are not they're worn. They're not like super threadbare, but they're obviously not super new anymore either. Yeah, he has a kind of he kind of starts at shadows a bit. He tends to be looking over his shoulder quite a lot.
A little nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. As you are standing there, sort of wondering where the guard is and how you're going to be let into this thing, you hear something that startles you probably a little bit. As coming up behind you, you hear a dog give a little bark, not a very mean bark, but a little kind of announcing its presence. And as you turn around, you see Elias.
He's not alone.
Right.
And a priest. Yeah, so and Brother Stanislav. So please introduce yourselves.
Elias Johannesson is a 36-year-old man. He is a writer. He has a kind of semi-messy crop of dark hair, a beard that matches as well. He wears glasses that he seems to fiddle with quite a bit. He has a nice suit on, but it looks like it's been slept in or worn a little bit too long. Like maybe it's in need of repair or replacement, but he hasn't bothered to do that. He is, he's got a tired look in his eyes. There's bags underneath both of his eyes, as if he doesn't sleep very often, or if he does, it's not very good. He is accompanied by the father, and between the two of them is a standard schnauzer who is a mottled gray in color, and he also looks like he's perhaps in need of a grooming. He's clean, but he's got a little bit longer hair and tufts of fur around his ears, like maybe he hasn't been properly maintained either. And the dog definitely has more of a commanding presence, it would seem, than the writer. And Elias just turns to the father, and I believe this is it.
Yes, this looks like this is the place. So Father Stanislav is, he's in his late 20s. He's got short brown hair that's kept very, very neat. Constantly wearing priestly robes, normally almost completely in black at all times. He's definitely has that the Slavic look to him. His eyes tend to be a little bit on the narrow side. They are blue, kind of a little slightly startling shade of blue. there's something of either a sadness to him or a haunting feeling to him, a haunted feel to him. He's tall, slender, but you get the sense that he'd be taller if he actually stood up straight. And he speaks in a very, very soft voice. Yes, this does look like the place that was described. Curious.
Elias will look down towards the dog. Come along, Reginald.
I'm muted. As you take in these two fellows and their dog, you see coming up behind them a sight that perhaps, I don't know if it comforts you, but at least it is someone that you recognize finally showing up in this thing. And Katya.
Katya's a girl in her late teens, about 17, 18. She's not really sure, so nobody else is. She's from the outskirts of Stavanger, Norway, but has been in London for the last few years, probably like 5 or 6. She looks pretty sickly, looks older than she is thanks to the hard living that she's been doing, very poor, and wearing a necklace that looks out of place with the rest of her, as it's got 2 raven's feathers, one gilded slightly in silver and one gilded slightly in gold. And she carries with her a very creepy doll.
How do you carry the doll?
The doll is like tied to her waist, like to the little belt she's wearing.
Like it
like in a new
swings, or it's like attached, like it's solitude. Like
It's a little attached, but like it's kind of like the back of her dress is tied to the belt and so swings a little bit.
Okay.
Wow, not creepy at all. All right. I would like to also say at this point that due to the information you've gathered before the session began, each of you has an advantage that you can call upon at any time, which will give you a +2 to a roll. And you simply have to say, I wish to use my advantage, and you'll be able to use it for the rest of the evening.
Perfect.
The sanitarium is tucked away in a quiet corner of a tranquil park, the trees heavy with fresh snow, the path a mixture of ice and wet snow that makes the approach treacherous. The 3 buildings that make up the hospital are also wide and emerge from the surrounding starkness like a ghost from mist. It would be easy to miss them, faded into their surroundings as they are. The place seems designed to be forgotten, overlooked, a white sepulchre, as Conrad wrote. However, not for the bodies of the dead, but rather for those few unlucky ones whose minds seem to be different or have taken a leave of absence. Some of you are particularly affected by this place, all too aware that many of those you know, perhaps even love, would have seen you placed in a place such as this. Eventually, a guard in a long, thick, dark coat approaches the gate. As he puts a hand on it, he says, "Visiting or coming to stay?" You get the feeling either answer will suit him just fine.
I mean, I'll probably eventually end up here, but now I'm just visiting.
Who are you visiting then?
And Astrid Hellstrom is who I got a note from.
Oh, there's just 4 of you? There was supposed to be, and then you hear coming up from behind you, "I'm here, old chum." As you turn around to see a man striding towards you very purposefully. He is short, but somewhat burly. He has thinning salt and pepper hair and big side whiskers. He wears wire-rimmed glasses and a brown suit under a military-style trench coat. Atop his head at a jaunty angle sits a Homburg. "Captain Michael Ackerfeld, at your service." It still only makes 5 of you. I thought it was supposed to be 6. Yeah. Oh, well.
What
Never
about the
mind.
dog?
It's cold as all get out here. Might as well come in. He takes out a huge ring of key and clunk, 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 opens the gates. "Welcome to Nyberg Sanitarium.
We thank you, and we hope our stay will not be too long or too burdening to you and to those around.
That's what everyone
Not that
thinks.
long because I don't want to stay. That'll be later.
Peace
You'll
be
find
with
the
you.
young lady in the solarium just around the corner there. Use the small door on the side there.
We thank you.
You trudge your way towards the door that he indicated. You notice there are not a lot of tracks around. Obviously, people don't come out and walk the grounds as much as perhaps they would in the summer. And so you're trudging in a foot of snow, and by the time you reach the door, your boots and your shoes and the bottoms of your pants, if you have them, are quite wet, and you're feeling quite uncomfortable. But as you approach the sort of glassed partition that is the solarium, a young woman dressed in a white blouse with a blue dress and a little white cap on with long auburn hair approaches the door and opens it and goes, "Hello, are you here to see Miss Elstrom?"
Yes.
"Oh,
We
please do come in. Please do come in. I'm Solveig. I'm the one who wrote to you. Please come in." As you walk into the solarium, you feel the warmth and the heat of the place just wash over you suddenly and blasts away all the chill that had started to settle into your bones and under your clothes. The place is very quiet. You see a bunch of tables with some chairs. There's a fireplace that's roaring. There are some games laid out, some chess sets, checkers, things of that nature. Against one corner, there's a fairly nice little selection of books for people who still enjoy doing these things. Plants all around. It's fairly pleasant, all told. But what really draws your attention is in the middle of the room, in a very sort of strange wooden wheelchair with padded armrests and backrests and some sort of contraption that looks like maybe it's like a little table that swings around. It's a young woman dressed in a pale white shift with long blonde hair, very long, in a big tress that curls around and curls over into her lap, and she's sort of wrapped into a big blanket and a big overcoat of some sort. She seems incredibly small and vulnerable and just pale, and so someone who's not very strong. But when she turns her face towards you, even though she doesn't look at you directly, you sense there's something there. There is a strong spirit in her, and you can tell that even though she doesn't see you, because as you recognize Astrid, she's blind, you can sense that she somehow really feels your presence and that there's almost some sort of connection between all of you. I'm so glad you could make it. Please come and sit. Solveig, would you get some tea, please? So he's like, "Yes, Miss Elstrom, I will. I think there's one missing." And Astrid looks up a little bit and says, "I don't think he'll be coming." Okay. And she closes the door behind you and she's like, "I'll get some tea." And Astrid says, "Please sit," and there are couches sort of around her that you can sit.
Katya ignores the couches and just sits cross-legged on the floor. She just feels she's one of those poor people that's like, no, I'm not going to dirty your couches.
Captain Ackerfeld sort of sniffs at you and goes, "Manners," and then goes over and sits very squarely in one of the chairs and makes sure that the crease in his pants is well lined up.
Nice.
Elias will stare for a very long time at Astrid, almost as if he's in a trance, trying to figure out something about her. And actually then Reginald pokes at his hand that's kind of hanging down by his side, and it snaps him out of his stupor for a moment. And he goes over and he slowly sits down, and the dog will do a pass around the couch and then sit down in front of him. Rest his
Before he
head on
sits
his knee.
down, Astrid will sort of reach out a little bit, and Reginald will stop what he's doing and sort of go towards her, and she'll give him some scritches behind the ears, and he seems sort of very happy with that. And eventually, after a while, he'll just sort of sit down next to her feet and curl up, and and as the pang of jealousy perhaps seizes your heart, but he looks at you and he seems kind of content, and she scritches him some more.
That is fine as well. I will say to Astrid, he's a seeing eye dog. He has serviced others in the past. Maybe he could be a friend to you while we are here.
That is most kind of you. He seems like a very, very nice pooch. Ruffles his hair. Father Stanislav, would you perhaps like to begin by giving us a little prayer before we start to talk about more dire things?
Of course, my child. He approaches and he actually takes a knee right next to Astrid, kind of like facing her, but to the side. Pulls out his family rosary. It's a family heirloom, and he says, "Did you have a particular prayer in mind?"
I'm afraid I don't remember many of them. My parents were not faithful churchgoers, and I was very young still. I would certainly trust you to choose the right one for this moment. Perhaps something about friendship, people helping each other.
Yes. And he starts off, and without even thinking, he starts in Latin, starting with the sign of a cross, and he goes, "In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen," and goes through one of the many prayers that he knows, and
Very good.
Just when he ends, he crosses himself again.
So while some of you might speak Latin, certainly Elias might have some Latin in him. Even if you don't, you do sense the power behind Father Stanislav's words when he speaks. Even if you're not given to Christianity or religion or any of those things, you do feel a certain sense of sort of power to the spirituality he's bringing to the place. As soon as Father Stanislav ends, you hear off in the distance somewhere like a little bell ringing, almost like a little bell, like someone would summon a servant with, perhaps, or something. You hear a little ding, 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 and it sort of echoes a little bit. And Father Stanislav, you feel like a cold breath of air kind of slip in over your neck and down your back and just give you like this very sort of hair-raising shiver.
He tenses, and his fist grasps the rosary a bit tighter, and she would see this. I don't know if everyone else is in position to. His other hand goes to the cross that he wears around his neck, and he clenches that as well.
As you clench that and sort of move perhaps closer to the fire to sort of warm yourself, you could swear you heard someone whispering in your ear, "Priest." Not in a threatening way, just in a fairly unsettling way.
Mm-hmm.
Astrid says, "Thank you very much, Father. I feel very heartened by your words and by the meaning behind them. I appreciate it."
During that prayer, Claudia was totally just playing with her doll and not paying any attention.
Of course, my child. He's a little out of sorts at the moment, and he's like trying to just play cool and not quite getting there.
As you sort of move closer to the fire to kind of try to ward off that chill a little bit, and you sit down and start playing with your doll, Astrid kind of turns towards you and goes, "Is that a doll you have?"
Yes, this is my doll, Sally.
Sally, what a wonderful name.
Secrets.
May I see her?
She doesn't like hand her over, just like puts her close and is like,
she's got her hand out, but obviously sort of at the wrong place, like next.
She kind of moves Sally over so that she can.
She doesn't take it. She just sort of runs her fingers over it and the hair, and and kind of fills her up. Sally seems very nice. She must be of great comfort to you. She reaches behind her in like a little basket that's behind her her wheelchair, and she comes on. She's got a little doll also. a little white doll. And she's like, I have a friend also. I don't speak to her much anymore, but she used to be of great comfort to me a long time ago. And the doll you see is very old and
great
kind of,
imaginary or not so imaginary friends.
that's what my father always said, that I had to stop believing in my imaginary friend Reina, but
Rude.
I know, especially since Reina is the one who saved me that night when the rest of my family unfortunately passed.
See, imaginary friends are good. Isn't that right, Creepy Sally?
You call your doll a creepy sound. That's good. As you're sort of sitting there and kind of feeling the creepiness of the whole moment, the door opens, and with a rattle of cups and the teacups and the teapot, Solveig comes in. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and she brings over a little tray, and she brings out she starts pouring tea for everyone and offers everyone a little tea, and there's little biscuits if you want them too. She's like, I hope it's hot enough for you. I know it's very cold outside, so I tried to make it a little extra hot for you. And so she pours the tea around. And then as you're like, she's like, well, is everything okay, Miss Elstrom? She's like, yes, Solveig, but you can stay if you want. I would like to speak perhaps to the reason why I asked you to come here. The symbol that I drew, or had Solveig draw in the letter, you've seen it before, yes?
Elias's hands jitter for a second, and he almost drops his cup, but then he steadies himself.
I've seen it too, or I used to see it a long time ago. And when I started thinking recently about my family and what had happened, and wondering a bit more about really what did happen that night, the first thing that I remembered was that symbol that I used to see in books, sometimes drawn in the corner, or sometimes it would seem that it was on one of the walls in my room when the moonlight was coming in through the window, but in the morning it wouldn't be there anymore. I didn't know what to make of it, but you may find this hard to believe. But as I was thinking of that symbol recently, I suddenly saw each of you and knew your names. There was another also that I saw, a Dr. Harold Hackison. He's not here, unfortunately. But the five of you and Dr. Hackison, I saw you clear as day, and I saw your names, and I knew how to reach you. And that's when I asked Solveig to write the letter to you, because I thought if anyone anywhere could help me understand what happened that night to my family, to my brother, my sister, my mother, and my father, it was you, since I believe we are connected somehow. We share something in our spirits. Would you do that for me? Would you try and solve this mystery, find out what happened to my family that night?
I know Arn loves a good mystery. He helped me solve one once.
Father Stanislav walks up to where, from the fire back to where Elias is sitting, actually stands behind him. And when he notices that his hand is shaking, he puts his hand on his shoulder to steady him. From behind, still standing though. He doesn't sit down. And at that point, I pledge to Elias here that I would help him in whatever manner I could. I owe it to him and his wife. May God rest her soul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father. How long? How long did you see these things, this symbol, the other things you spoke of?
I saw the symbol when I was but a child. I've only seen the others since I woke up from my catatonic state, it seems that while I have lost my eyesight, I've gained another. I see things sometimes lurking around the corner or in some shadows, or sometimes even in the clothes or even in the skin of some of the people that come to this place. I know some others here see them too. Of course, no one will believe them or me. I was hoping that you would, since I believe you see them too, right? These creatures, these spirits.
I see them all the time. They like to come and visit.
She looks at Arn. You're very quiet, sir. Is this not sitting well with you?
I just taking the temperature, as they say, gathering, observing, listening.
You do a lot of that. You like to watch and learn more than you like to interact or commit yourself, perhaps.
Acting can be problematic at times. I find it's better to act from a place of knowledge than a place of bravado.
He's a very good listener.
I'm sure he is. The captain saying, well, I believe in action. I believe in correctness. And it would be my pleasure, ma'am, even though I must say that a lot of this spooky gobbledygook really doesn't sit well with me. I will say that ever since I returned from the war, I've seen strange things and I've heard strange things. And if helping you can help me understand what some of these things are, then yeah, I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to do what is needed.
Katya kind of leans over to Arn, is like, he thought I smelled, but he's worse than me in attitude.
I'm happy. I'm very happy and relieved that you're willing to help me. Do you have any questions, things I could answer before I put you on the, I ask you to go and meet with my attorney so that he may take you to the house. Is there anything that I could help you with?
When you say that you saw us, that you knew us, has such a thing happened before?
Not really. When I was a child, I would sometimes see things that I didn't understand, that didn't make sense to me, but later I would see them again. They would happen. For example, and she rummages, she's got on the other side, she's got like an aerial basket, there's a bunch of papers, and she pulls a bunch out, and there's stuff that's written on some of them, and others have drawings and whatnot. She goes, I drew this the night before what happened at the house, and she shows you a picture, and it's a very childlike, hand-drawn picture of a little girl, very slender with long hair, but instead of legs, she has like a square base and wheels there. She's like, I didn't know what it meant at that time. I understand.
This
that
was
I
the
was
night before the incident?
Yes.
A
And there were
child,
times like this that I would see.
you mentioned, no, sorry.
No, so please go ahead.
You mentioned your imaginary friend Reina warning you.
Yes, Reina was always very nice to me, very good to me. And the night that the tragedy occurred, she woke me up. And when I woke up, she was calling my name. And I saw the window to my room was open. And when I went to the window, I saw Reina outside the house, and she was beckoning me to come and see her. And I knew my dad didn't like it when I played with Reina, so I thought perhaps if I play with her at night, where he can't see me, he won't chide me so much. So I climbed out of the window, and I had to push this little bench that I had in my room underneath so that I was tall enough to climb. And I went over and I went in, and soon after, I was playing with Raina, and then I realized something was wrong. Something was not right in the house. And when I tried to go back, Raina tried to warn me not to go back, but I did. And as soon as I walked in the door, I felt and smelled this very powerful, oppressive odor. And I felt my eyes start to dry and burn. And the next thing I knew, there were doctors there and people that were bringing me in a bed and taking care of me and asking me questions. And that was the last thing that I saw. After that, when I regained consciousness, I couldn't see anymore. I had bandages over my eyes, but when they took them off, I couldn't see. And that's when they told me that my father and my mother and my brother and my sister had died in the house that night.
I'm sorry, my child. And he looks upon her with a mixture of concern, sympathy, and curiosity. There's a little bit of trepidation. The fact that it seemed very specific as opposed to just an odd feeling that she had.
She seems to sense your discomfort, and she goes, I'm very happy you're here, Father, because I'm afraid that whatever happened that night may have some darker undertones than perhaps this idea of an accident would let us understand. My family, I now understand. My grandfather and my great-grandfather specifically were engaged in some darker practices, and I sometimes think that perhaps they did something, made a promise a long time ago that they broke, and that is why my family was punished. If that makes any sense, I can't explain it better than that.
This is
Just a
bad.
feeling of hope.
Very, very bad.
If you would like, Solveig will take you to my room here. I have all the things I have left from the house, everything that I was able to take with me or that was brought to me in the days after the incident. I kept everything very preciously. If you would like, Solveig will take you and you can take a look at these things and see if any of them may be of help to you.
Are there writings?
There are stacks of letters, a few other things that you might find of use in this, yes.
Elias gets a distant look in his eye and he says, there's power in words.
Solveig, would you take them? Yes, Miss Elstrom, and I'll come right back to get you. And she says, that's okay. I'll be okay here for a while. I feel a bit of a chill. I'll just stay by the fire and finish my tea. I'll be right back, Miss Elstrom. If you would like to come with me.
Katya stops by Astrid's chair for a second and she kind of leans down. Is there anything that you might have left out that you don't feel is important? And try to use like the empathy manipulation to try and seek out if there's anything that she's holding back.
Yeah, go for it. So give me empathy and manipulation roll.
Deeper.
You will tell us everything.
You will speak to us.
Your thoughts are my thoughts.
That's 3 6s.
Ooh,
Wow.
nice.
Holy guacamole.
Satan comes.
What?
She'll say, my father often talked about an old curse that my great-grandfather Oscar might have been involved with, but it wasn't a curse on my great-grandfather. It was a curse on someone else, but he often talked about how our money was dirty because it came from a curse that had been placed on someone, that someone somewhere was suffering because of a curse, and that my great-grandfather was profiting from it. And that's where we built our money. And that's why my father disliked a lot of the things having to do with his father and his grandfather. Perhaps you'll find some information or more details in my father's study in the house once Bertolt takes you there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, please. Sally, take care of Katya, will you? And you kind of almost feel like your doll was like, putting up its little fists and like kind of ready to defend you. So Solveig takes you down the hall. It's very quiet here. You see a few other patients, a few of them walking, some of them are also in wheelchairs, so on and so forth, a few nurses. People tend to kind of ignore you a little bit or kind of look away or whatnot, kind of like you get the feeling that probably Astrid is kind of like a mysterious presence and everyone kind of shuns her a little bit, and anyone having to do with her, the captain will say, I've been billeted in some weird places, but this is definitely one of the places that I would like to end up in. This place gives me the creeps. So she takes you into a room, and as someone with some money, Astrid actually has a fairly big and spacious room with windows that open onto a little balcony for the summer and so on and so forth. And she's got like a two little room, basically one side with her bed and so on and so forth, and then another side which has like a desk that she can roll her wheelchair to with some writing implement. And you see the place has been decorated a little bit, probably by Solveig or someone like that, with festive little things. She seems to have a thing for birds. There are little cutouts of birds, little drawings of birds, sort of all over the place.
Do I feel any kinship with any of these drawings?
Not just yet, but hold on to your underwear because something's coming. Yep.
As we're kind of making our way there, before we get to there,
yes,
I would walking next to Katya, I would like to say, Katya, how have you been?
I mean, surviving as best I can, because London's rough when you're not used to it. It's much different than Stavanger. Much different.
Very different.
But nobody's asked me about what.
That's good. That's good. I don't like this.
Any more nightmares?
No, I've been keeping up the methods.
Good.
And he kind of says, perhaps a little lower, he says, I don't like this. Broken deals is bad business.
She said something about a curse that we can investigate her father's study. We got to look in there because it might have information on that, because she thinks that that's why her family made their money, was because somebody else was cursed. This is cursed.
Wow. The mystery awaits.
So as you're walking towards the room, the captain will be walking up front with Elias and Father Stanislav, and he'll be like, Father Stanislav, do you know a Father Roberto?
I know several Father Robertos.
Well, when I was in the army, our unit chaplain was Father Roberto. He was a very, very fine gentleman, very, very nice man. Always had a very warm word for the troops. I was just wondering if perhaps you knew of him and what had happened of him.
Where did you serve?
I served a little bit everywhere, but we were in France and Italy for a while. Remember, Father Roberto was about yay high, dark hair, kind of slicked back, a big nose, liked his wine a little bit, if you know what I mean. It sounds like about 30 other priests that you know.
Perhaps I may have knowledge of him.
Yeah.
He sounds familiar, and he's not lying. He's just not necessarily telling the truth either.
Well, if you see him again, tell him Captain Ockerfeld says hi. He was a good fellow. He was a good one to have at your back when you were out there. You know, it's good to have a little bit of that faith back in you. You know what I'm saying?
There's slightly, I mean, Captain Michael probably would not recognize this, but there's a little bit more of the sadness in his eyes as I will do so.
Thanks. You're a very fine fellow yourself.
Oh.
So
I appreciate that.
As you approach the room, then you can set about searching the room. So what we'll do is you may elect one of you to do the searching, to do the roll, and each one of you being present and helping out will give that person a +1 to their roll, and then we will see. Who would like to be the point person on this search of the room?
I'm gonna guess Arn probably.
Yes, I would assume the private eye guy is going to be the best.
We have a detective. Let's make the weird.
Private dick.
All right,
I'll
so you can
pull
get
out-
up to +3 for your companions helping you.
What do you get? +4 for Ockerfeld?
No, the maximum you can get is +3, even though there's 4 people there. So go ahead and roll an investigation plus logic and a +4. Looking for 6.
3. I need more dice.
Nice. Love it.
All right, well, let me roll my first handful.
Like
we
playing
playing Shadowrun?
I know,
We
right?
made the same joke. I love it.
A man after my own heart.
And you see as he kind of is looking around the room, he has a fine like, you know, detective's magnifying glass he pulls out.
When he does, you all kind of feel there's something special about that. Like you kind of get the feeling if you were to touch it, it would tingle a little bit. You know.
0.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, and one more.
Wow.
Fail.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Brutal. Would you like to push the roll? You may opt to push the roll, which means that you get to re-roll all your failures. But once the roll has been done, you will gain a mental condition, which you will probably have time to cure on your way to the next scenario if you wish.
Also note that if you go to the Rainbows and Razor Blades coffee and donate, you can cure conditions for the players.
Beautiful.
I'll
What?
push the roll.
Push that roll.
Push it.
Yeah.
If you still roll no successes, there's nothing I can do for you, son.
Push it real good.
We shall have our first exorcism.
All right. Well, this is much better. And in keeping with the theme, the number of the beast is 6, 6, and 6.
Nice.
Perfect. Perfect.
So I get a condition.
Yeah, but because you rolled a 666, I'm actually going to say you don't get the condition.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, there's some evil spirits out there that are looking out just for you, and
Great.
it
I
was
know their
just
names.
you just kind of had a little hiccup there at first. All right, so you find a few different things. So as you're going through the room, Father Stanislav, you come across something that in some ways you're not too surprised to find. There's some pagan iconography here as you find an old, and I mean very, very old necklace that is a Thor's hammer pendant that of course, the the older religions in this part of the world worshipped, amongst others, Thor, the god of thunder. This piece is very, very, very old, very rudimentary, very sort of it's not a finely crafted item. This was like, probably like the tip of some arrow or something that had slain someone important and that was hammered into the proper shape. And yeah, you find it, and when you grab it, you see that it's normally made of some silvery kind of metally color thing, but there are spots on it that appear to perhaps be dried blood.
Hmm.
Do you have the occult? There's not the occult skill, but the observation.
Why, yes, I do.
Please give me an observation and empathy roll.
Okay, so with the 3 net, does that mean I'm rolling 9 dice, or
Sorry.
how does
no,
how does it work?
this is a roll. Yeah, actually, it should be everyone could pitch in on this. So
Well, because it's got the skills, it's got the 3 next to it. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly I'm rolling. How many?
yeah. So what's your observation?
3.
3, and what's your empathy?
My empathy is 5.
So that's 8 dice that you get to roll.
Okay, that's how it works. All right. So yeah, I need more dice. I never
Sixes,
thought I'd say
and
that.
unlike Arn, don't forget the 6s.
Yeah,
Yeah. I left my 6s in the other pants.
that's
It's a common problem.
Oh, I got 1 6 and all that.
Okay.
Okay. What you need.
That's fine. You, as you're touching it and sort of seeing it, you get sort of a sense, like a little voice in the back of your head that tells you this could be important, and it's probably worth keeping securely and not, doing something like cleaning it off or anything like that. But you get a sense that this is probably important somehow.
I pull out a handkerchief and carefully wrap it in the cloth.
Very well. Just a reminder to our players, I am, as we speak, updating the shared file with images of the things that you find and so on and so forth. Finally, with the 666 roll, you also find a stack of letters and other written things. You give a stack of them to Elias to go through with you, Arn, and as you go through them, most of them are letters written by Oscar, the great-grandfather of Astrid, to her great-grandmother in the 1710s. He's clearly, in the letters, you can see Elias, like you know writing, penmanship. You're reading this, and it's clear to you. You don't have any doubt that he was very much in love with her and that she was very much in love with him. That absolutely the letters really bear testament to this. Of interest are the fact that they're all addressed from a town called Norvik. All right.
All right.
You may make a learning and logic roll if you would. And most of just fluff, but there's one that's interesting. And as soon as you make your roll, I will read you the letter that's interesting.
Okay. That's 2 sixes.
All right. Narvik, is a very, very remote, very, very small town, almost on the northern coast of the country, way, way, way up in the north. The letter that you find is dated, interestingly enough, and this is why it catches your attention, December 21st, which is today's date.
Yes.
But in 1713. Dear Petra, I finally found it. You should see this place. Trees further than you could see, a veritable sea of them, all in perfect condition and near enough a river to make moving them south a cinch. I've managed to contact the presence that lingers here, I know you're not fond of hearing about these things, but your father was right. There's power to be gained from these things, and we would be fools to let those opportunities go to waste. The presence calls itself Hakan. It seems it was once a king, perhaps, but it lingers here, and its presence fortifies the area. But Hakan is hungry. He needs different sustenance. If I agree to provide this sustenance, he will allow us to harvest the timber on the land up here. And more importantly, he swears that he can regrow cut trees in a matter of days. This represents a potentially unlimited resource of timber for our mills. I will have further discussions with Hakan. For now, I need you to go to Bo Hjorth and ask him to travel up to Narvik to meet me. Tell him I'll need him to oversee the operation. I'll make arrangements for his family to follow once things are up and running. We'll also need that money your father left behind to start the process. There's a tiny hamlet here, but it will serve well enough. We'll build a sawmill, an inn, and then some small houses for the workers. With Hakan's protection, they can work year-round without fearing wolves, bears, or more esoteric fiends. This is the great opportunity we've been waiting for. This will allow me to give you and our children the life your father never believed I could, and that you so deserve, my love. Please fetch Hjorth. I will return to you by early next month, and we will begin preparations. You won't have to live in that small cottage for much longer, I promise. Yours eternal, Oscar.
So I actually read that aloud to the group as I was reading it, and you guys can tell that I'm moved by it. There's definitely a loss when I see the love between the two of them, and there's a few times that my voice cracks as I'm reading it. And then I say kind of to myself, not knowing if they're going to hear me or not. I'm kind of oblivious to them for a moment. I say that it doesn't make any sense. It's too early.
What is it to us?
Oh, I'm sure it's nothing, Father. I just it doesn't make very much sense. If they've seen these things that Astrid has seen as well, it's early.
How do you mean early?
In the year?
Just a conjecture. I believe that I assume that the young woman had seen these things herself, and the fact that her great-great-grandfather is seeing some sort of force, some entity, this Hakan, this presence.
You do remember that she would not have read these letters, right? Because they were brought to her after her accident when she was blind.
Mm-hmm. It stands to reason that maybe there is something else going on here.
You'll pipe up. Well, I did talk to her as you all were walking out of the room, and her great-grandfather, the one mentioned in the letter, believed that they made their fortune because somebody else was cursed. And so maybe it kind of attached to the family. And so multiple
Katya, you're rudely interrupted as you hear a loud tapping at the window. Puck, puck, puck. Puck, puck, puck. As you turn to the window, the two big double doors that are glassed, you see a raven standing there on the handle, pecking at the window.
Claudia goes and opens up the window to let her friend in.
As you approach to open the window, it flies off and then caws at you and then flies away.
Well, fine. I didn't want to talk to you either. And she turns around.
There's something, the rest of you in the room, look at this exchange, and there's just something like that was a normal behavior. There was something weird and strange about this bird and sort of what happened, but obviously Katya seems to be perfectly fine with it.
You speak to birds often.
Oh, ravens are my friend. The night raven especially.
Night raven?
Yes, the night raven helped me. got me out of a very bad situation. Or at least I assume they're the one that did it. But we never did figure that out. That's how Arn and I met.
Do you talk to birds too?
No.
He just was investigating, and I had to tell him about the birds because, well, at least he believed me. He didn't think I was crazy like my mother did.
You're a strange bunch. No doubt about it.
Oh, sorry, Captain. I had forgotten you were here.
I get that a lot. All right, are we done poking through this poor girl's things? I think that the lawyer is the one that's going to give us answers. You can always trust the lawyer to give you the answers.
Lawyers are known to be very
Right.
truthful at all costs. I have found in my investigations and my interactions with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll learn more from this father's study at the house, personally.
Right. Well, since I'm in charge of this unit, if y'all are ready, we're going to step out.
I didn't believe anyone was put in charge. I thought perhaps.
No, that's what leaders do. They just take charge, son. They just take charge. You're in good hands. Don't worry. Shall we then? Bring these papers. They might come in handy later. Maybe we can ask the lawyer about them.
Strong hands.
Elias will gather up all the papers. He has a small, basically like an attaché type, not an attaché case, but he has a case, like a
Briefcase.
Yeah, and he puts the papers within it so that we can have them.
All right. So having discovered, yes.
As we leave, I would like to kind of glance around outside, where the whole Raven altercation happened. Just kind of like glancing down at the ground, to see if there's anything amiss, and then kind of also looking off a bit.
When you look around, you do notice in the tree outside that, of course, is completely nude because of the winter and all the leaves have fallen. Unmistakably, you see two ravens sitting there on either side of it, sort of pointedly not looking at you.
As ravens are wont to do.
That's right.
Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say that Elias would also like to take a camera and set it up. He takes a photograph of the room as we leave.
Perfect. Not a problem. Takes a little while to do that, but sorry.
Father Stanislav is find himself staring at the ravens for quite some time, and there's
it's rude.
And he goes into his pocket and puts his hand over the handkerchief that holds the hammer trinket.
And as you do that,
yeah.
The two of them start cawing and then fly off.
Why don't all of my friends fly away?
I'm sure that's not a reflection on you.
You're not feeling too stressed out about it, because since there wasn't 3, it's not yet a murder.
Right.
That's crows, not ravens.
Okay.
Elias will come up to Stanislav. Well, go ahead. I'll let you.
Well, as you do that, you hear him mumbling under his breath. It takes a second to realize it because he's saying it so softly, but you can hear him saying, you hear him basically saying the first commandment. I am the Lord thy God. There are no gods before me. And Father God, there are no gods before me. And just repeating it to himself as if trying to convince him. It almost sounds like he's trying to convince himself of it.
Can I ask you a question, Rob?
Yes.
I don't know a whole lot necessarily about the iconography of different orders, but is there would we be able to identify like are you, is your character like Eastern Orthodox?
He's Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Because you know that you would know that mostly. I mean, depending on how familiar, because of the fact that he's speaking. When he
Latin.
said the prayer earlier, he said it in Latin as opposed to Greek.
Right. Okay. I kind of thought that, but I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm. And Latin as opposed to a native tongue.
Sure.
All right. Anything else you guys would like to do before traveling off to see this lawyer?
While the father is standing off to the side, I will approach him and I will say, I believe you have me at a disadvantage, Father Stanislav. I was not aware that the girl speaking of seeing and hearing things in my letter I did not disclose to you would be something that you were aware of.
He says, he pauses, he freezes for a moment, and he says, I did not want to believe these things were true. I've denied them for so long. And he looks down. When Martha told me of what you had been seeing, I thought maybe perhaps there were answers at last, but now it seems that there are only more questions. I am sorry, my friend. I did not wish to deceive you.
Those were things that she should not have known about. And for that I have failed her.
You did not fail her. If anything, I failed her.
Well, it would seem that all of us are failures then in some regard. And I look down to Reginald and I say, maybe some of us more than others.
Perhaps there is redemption to be found here. Though I am concerned.
I will look to him, and then I will look to the other two members of the party. Not the captain. I'm just kidding. I will look to the other members of the party.
Oh, he's still here.
Yes. I'll look up to the father, and then I'll look to the other members of the party, and I will say, there may be redemption for some of you still. There will be none for what I have done. Come, Reginald. And I go to catch up with the others.
Father Stanislav, startled at that, and just watches Elias walk past, and then he finds his gaze going back to where the ravens were and where they flew off to.
You've lost them as they've sort of started heading in the northerly direction, but now under this gray sky, heavy with winter, you don't see even the shadow of them anymore.
Okay. And after that, he ends up shaking himself out of his, basically just being frozen, and walks off after Elias.
Before we get ready to leave, Elias will stare at the sanitarium. Do I see Astrid anywhere, like sitting in a window?
Yeah, if you look back towards where the solarium is, you'll see her very, very pale, almost ghostly figure sitting, in white, in her white shift, sitting in that chair, just up against the windows of the solarium, and there's a little bit of condensation. So she looks kind of pale and otherworldly a little bit as she stares at where you are, and when you turn to look at her, she raises a hand and waves a little bit.
I stare in silence for a moment before I join the others in the carriage or whatever it is we're traveling with.
Yeah, there will be a carriage waiting for you outside. There's
Scrambles on top of it because she doesn't want to ride outside.
There's a man waiting for you there. He's it's super
Sure,
cold
it's
out, but
cold.
he's like got these boots, they're unlaced, and he's got like a vest and shirt, and the sleeves are rolled up, and he's got this huge mustache and a big nose and huge mess of brown hair, and he's got a cigarette stuck in the corner of his mouth. He's like, "You going to the lawyers?
Yep.
All right, hop in. It's getting cold." You all climb in. She climbs on top of the thing. He's like, "Young miss, you're going to fall off of that and you're going to break something. And it's going to be my fault. I'd much rather if you'd ride inside, or if you want, you may ride up front with me. How's that?"
Yeah, right up front, and like literally like kind of flops down from the top to sit on the bench.
Perfect.
Just
All
kind of
right.
rolls down.
Yeah.
My
Like
name's
a little kid
Krakauer.
sliding off a bed.
My name's Krakauer. I'll take you to see Bertolt right now. Closes the door, climbs on. Yeah, and as he gives the horses a little what for, they speed off into the cobblestone, snow-covered cobblestone streets, and we will use this particular moment of travel to take us a 5-minute break to go empty and refill, and we will be right back after. Don't go anywhere, and more weird mysteries to come. Thank you very much.
Hello.
We have returned.
Or have we?
Are we live?
Yes, we are.
It's alive.
It's alive with the sound of music. All right, with the sound of crows dying. Okay.
It's not
Thank
ominous at
you
all.
for joining us again. Quick recap. Our group has gone to the sanitarium to meet Astrid Hellstrom, who has told them that she believes that some supernatural and or occult forces of some sort are at play in the death of her family some 9 years ago, which she was spared because her imaginary friend, her doll Reina, had lured her outside the house when a gas or some form of poison was released throughout the house from a laboratory where one of the eldest son of the family was doing experiments. However, when she tried to go back in the house, she was struck blind and then spent a few years in a catatonic state, only awakening recently and having a vision of our player characters and inviting them to meet her and asking them for their help in solving the mystery of her parents' demise. And through some clues that they've encountered so far, it seems her grandfather might have been involved in some occult shady business. There's question of a curse. There's question of some entity or creature called Hakan in the far north that the great-grandfather Oscar might have made a deal with in order to harvest lumber in a forest up north, which is what the family fortune was built on. So the players then hopped on a horse-drawn carriage driven by a man named Krakauer and have made their way across the city. I'm sorry, I'm going to mute myself for a second. Damn cats. Made their way across the snow-laden city to the offices of one Bertolt Gerhardt, who is a German, but the lawyer of the Hellstrom family, who has apparently been defending Astrid's interest as she lay, first of all, in a coma, but since then awaiting for her to become major and then hopefully getting to lay her hands or get access to the Hellstrom family fortune. So the players were driven across town by this Krakauer, and upon reaching the offices of Mr. Geralt Gerhardt, Bertolt Gerhardt, sorry. The lawyer's office are centrally located in a densely packed neighborhood with upscale stores, cafes, and stores of well-off clothiers and haberdashers lining the nicely cobbled streets. Several street sweepers are at work removing snow and slush from the path of Uppsala's upper crust. Through windows, you see nicely attired ladies in fur coats and brimmed hats taking afternoon tea with each other, while in the eateries, men in suits read newspapers, smoke cigars, and eat a late lunch. The sign, hand-carved in lacquered wood, reads, Gerhardt and Laffitz, barristers. You walk into the warm and well-appointed reception area, bookshelves along the walls, a blazing fire in a grated fireplace, and two desks facing each other, as you can see on the map that I've put up on the Hallbear. At one desk, an ink-stained young man is furiously copying documents. At the other, an imperious and hawk-faced old woman looks at you through her pince-nez glasses, gives you a tight smile that is also somehow a sneer and a sigh, and says in a nasally voice, let me guess, you need a barrister that does pro bono work. Well, you've knocked at the wrong door.
I beg your pardon, but we're here to see Berthold at the instruction of Miss Astrid.
Miss Astrid Hellstrom?
Yes.
Hellstrom.
She looks at the boy that's furiously copying at the other desk and goes, isn't she the one in the coma? It's like, yes, but she woke out of it a little while back. Don't you remember? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yes. Pushes her glasses back up. She looks at her, oh, yeah, I have a note here. People from Astrid, please bring into my office. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was rude. I apologize. Please follow me. And as you follow her, she takes you up some stairs and then down along a plushly carpeted corridor and into a very well-appointed office, and asks you to please wait a few moments, and Master Gerhardt will be with you very shortly. She closes the door and exits the room.
Sally, we need to find better people.
What kind of condition does this Gerhardt keep his office in?
Well, the desk seems pretty tidy, but near the window there's like another little table, and it's got like reams of papers and books, and a bit more of a kind of a messy area. And then there's little pigeonholes and little cabinets that are overflowing with papers and stuff of that nature. It's
Some people would say he has a system.
some people would say he has a system. What that system is.
Exactly.
Elias will go over to that stack of papers and he'll just kind of casually flip through them, not pull anything out or anything like that, but just kind of, sheaf through some of them, trying to see if there's anything that might stick out.
Do you possess investigation, sir?
Yeah, I have 2 in that.
Well, please give me an investigation and logic roll.
Okay.
Anybody else want to take a chance of snooping around whilst the coast is clear? Father Stanislav?
Father Stanislav is looking around. He was seeing if there's anything just really seemingly out of place. The fact that the maybe bits of iconography that wouldn't be noticed if one wasn't looking for it.
You do notice a lack of any sort of religious iconography. There's no crucifix, no portraits, nothing. Like, it's almost insultingly so.
Right.
Master Gerhardt appears to not be, at least in his professional setting, a man that's devoted to anything other than the law.
I got no 6s on that roll, by the way.
No 6s on that roll, not a problem. Do you wish to push the roll?
No, not for something like this.
All right. Anybody else, snooping?
Katya is better with people than things. She is not very good in the logic at all.
You're better with people? Is that what I just heard?
Okay.
Actually,
For you, Master Detective?
No, I think just a brief once over that I did is good enough for Arn.
Okay.
At this
does you have-
juncture.
I would think there's like books about. I'd be looking for books that are not having anything to do with the law.
And you there's really none. Like, it really appears as though this man lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, and other things, nothing but the law and justice. He seems to be, he's being German, he's very, he's very disciplined and very focused and very I'm sorry if any Germans take offense to this, but I certainly say this with the utmost admiration, because I'm all over the freaking place.
Considering the state of Stanislav's homeland at the time, he just groans a bit.
So as you're sitting there just warming yourselves by the fire and wishing someone would bring in some tea or something, the door opens eventually, and a cat walks in with a bowler hat and a cigar and goes, "Hey, what are y'all doing in here?" No. The door opens and in walks this very short, very slight, very wiry older man, certainly in his late 60s, very long drawn face with very sharp features, beautiful mane of white hair sort of swept back, a nice cravat with little golden pin throughout. He's in his shirt, but he's got a nice vest, and everything about him is kind of somber and, not too flashy, but you can tell that, all of it's nice. Like, obviously, this is someone who not only has the means, but surprisingly also taste. He speaks with a thick German accent, which I am not at all going to try to do here. Please have a seat. He goes around his desk.
Katya again sits on the floor.
Like, I want you to know that I was against
Child is her main descriptor. Like,
well, you found a nice little carpet to sort of sit on there, and Reginald is Reginald your dog's name, right? He comes over.
Yes, Reginald will go over and sit next to her. Yep, absolutely.
There you go. Bertolt says, I want you to know I was against this from the very beginning. I think that all this hullabaloo and talk about the occult and the supernatural is absolutely ridiculous. The affairs of men are not the affairs of folklore, and I think we would do best to focus on the things that we can control, such as the law and the affairs of men. However, I also want you to know that I am very fond of young Astrid. I am very protective of her, and if you, in any way, shape, or form, are charlatans intent on trying to do any sort of harm to her, I will see you prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Are we clear?
I understand
wants
completely.
to try and use the talent strike fear to prove him wrong.
Are you doing that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, this is the captain. He is in charge of our group. If there's any sort of prosecution, it will fall upon him, I suppose.
that's right.
That's right.
Strike the head.
While I just read up very quickly on Strike Fear.
Oh, it's about to get real now.
Targeted NPCs must pass a logic or empathy test. Their role gains bonus dice equal to the number of friendly individuals in the same room.
That's right.
Ow.
All right. So as I do this, the captain, you can see, is very taken by Bertolt and seems to have found a kindred spirit in the man, and is all like, top form, sir, top form. May I be the first? As he extends a hand to shake Bertolt's hand. All right.
The cut of his jib.
Yeah, I'll definitely use logic. You have no real friendlies in the area. All right. Okay.
Lawyer pisses
So
himself.
as he says these things, and as the captain walks over to extend his hand, you kind of feel like someone opened a window and there's kind of like a little cold draft that has kind of seeped in, and you're not sure, but it's almost kind of like at the corner of your eye, sort of centered. You're all kind of in a semicircle around the area where Katya chose to sit down. It's almost as if the lights dim and flicker for a little second. And when you look at Bertolt, he's not like, looking like he's on the verge of panic, but he's definitely like kind of taking a step back, and he's looking a little paler than is normally.
She kind of holds up Sally and she's like, "Don't believe in the occult, do you? I can change that."
All right, we're all friends here. We're all friends. We all want what's best for Miss Hellstrom. His eyes are still kind of a little, and looking straight at that doll. He seems to be real like, and then the captain still over his hand. All right, I apologize if I came on a little strong. I'm sorry. I'm just very fond of young Astrid, and I don't want to see any ill fate befall her.
Father Stanislav steps forward. Oh, my son, we do not wish any harm on young Astrid. We wish to help if we can.
Very well, I accept that. Let's get down to brass tacks then, shall we? Good call, bad call. I have been ordered to provide you with access to the house so that you may not only investigate it, but reside there if you wish. Miss Hellstrom has agreed that my man, Krakauer, who you met outside, will accompany you. He will hold the keys and he will serve as your butler while you are there, taking care of you in the house. If you have any questions about the case, about the house, Krakauer is the man to ask. He will see you right. I ask only that you be careful, as this house is the inheritance of Miss Hellstrom. You may, of course, go where you wish. Although it pains me to say this, you may find that certain rooms are inaccessible no matter what you try. We've not been able to explain it and not been able to go around it so far. I trust that perhaps people with a different base of knowledge than mine might be able to glean some answers about this. In any case, the house, as well as this stipend, and he pulls out a little bag with a whole bunch of gold dollars, and he's like, will provide you with all the physical comforts you might wish during your stay here. I've also been instructed to pay you the same amount again once you feel you have finished your investigation, to be separated amongst you as you wish. So he pushes the kroner.
Katya looks up at the captain and is like, well, at least I'll be able to bathe so you're not offended.
He bites back a response and goes, I think we will all welcome, I think we'll all welcome chance to enjoy some comforts of the household, such as baths and warm beds and so on and so forth.
Cold journey.
Is there anything else I can do for you meanwhile? Any questions you have I might try to answer?
You are a lawyer to the estate, correct?
I was Magnus Hellstrom's lawyer, yes, and in his will, he had indicated that as long as there was a living heir that I should continue to serve the Hellstrom family.
Were there any writings, perhaps flights of fancy, poetry that might be somehow locked within vaults that I could peruse upon my stay at the house?
There are tons of papers at the house. I don't know what state they'll be in at this point, but nothing was taken from the house or removed from the house. Things should still be fairly much as they were. The investigative bodies, the policemen who went in, did not find anything other than, of course, the laboratory downstairs where this gas or experiment that Niels was working on somehow went awry. And given the fact that it looked like a pretty open and shut case, not much else was done in the area. I'm sure you'll find more than enough there to sate your curiosity.
Capitalizing on the slight fear she struck into him, Katya's gonna stand up and kind of lean closer to him over the desk and be like, is there anything
He leans back and
strange you might be holding back? Because you don't believe, but maybe we should know.
There's a thing, I don't know if it's strange, but it's certainly peculiar. You there with the ink stains on your fingers, would you get the ledger on the table there? You snaps at you, Elias.
You'll see that Elias actually snaps like maybe he was starting to doze off for a moment. And he reaches inside of his coat and he pulls a small little vial out and he unstoppers it and he smells it and then he puts it back away. Yes, of course. And he turns and he will get the papers that he's pointed to.
Yeah, there's a little ledger that you kind of overlooked earlier because it just looks like a bunch of numbers and
Sure.
accounting stuff. It's like if you take a look at that, you'll find something that I've not. I understand what was happening. It just seems a little peculiar how it was happening. So when you open the ledger and check it out, the first thing you notice from the ledger is that it shows that. So it shows on one page there are lists of payments and dates being made, and after a little while, sort of going through it and reading what's written in the notes and whatnot, you start to realize that it's payments being made to the families of workers who are injured. I mean, it was a very dangerous business, of course, logging. Several lost their lives, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever this happened,
I know those.
so there seems to have been several payments, and they were fairly generous. Like it appears that, Oscar at least, and later, because these date back like to Oscar's time, and then later Oscar's sons and Oscar's grandfather's time. Like there's years and years of these things. They paid people if there was an injury, if there was a maiming, if there was a death, they paid fairly well. Definitely considerable sums. But the thing that strikes you as kind of interesting is that on the opposite page, and it's not at first you don't pay because there's like an opposite page, and there's a tons of pages that don't have an opposite page, and then there's another page with stuff on the opposite page, and then again several years go by before you get them again, and several years, and so on and so forth. But what you come to realize is that on the opposite page there are sometimes a list of other families that are provided for accidental deaths of their husband or son or whatever, and the sums being paid are much larger than they normally get paid. And I would like you to make a learning roll, and you can be helped by anyone who is also looking at this book. So you would make your learning plus logic, and then if anybody else is looking at the books and helping, you can add a dice to that. All right,
Yeah,
so
I think we'd-
2 more dice.
I would offer
Katya is still
assistance
staring down
on
the
such a
lawyer.
thing.
'cause-
The lawyer is staring at the doll. The captain's going on talking to the lawyer about like how he's a big fan of the law himself. There's there's a regimentation, a discipline to the law that is very good, and so on and so forth.
Well, the Stanislav sides up to Elias and says, well, at least the man's good for something.
Yes.
So make your roll, Elias.
Alrighty. It's logic and learning, you said?
That's right, and you can add 2 dice from Father Stanislav and Arn giving you a hand.
Perfect. That'll bring us up to 8. Okay, that is 2 6s.
Excellent. So the first thing you notice is that whenever there's these lists on the opposite page, it's always 9 names. It's always 9 families getting paid on the same date, the same year, a much larger sum of money than even for other accidental deaths. There's also always a note of the bodies not being recovered. And the second dice allows you to realize that this occurs exactly every 9 years.
Interesting.
And it was 9 families too.
Yeah, 9. It's always 9 different families, and then 9 years later, 9 different families. Then 9 years later, 9 different families.
And so then in every 9 years, it's 9 different families in the
Yeah.
previous 9 years?
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
It shows very specifically, whereas all the other payments on the other side are signed by an accounting firm, which you can see by whatever the signature they have there. Those payments are always signed at first in Oscar's time by someone called Bowden Yorth, BJ, and then later Boden Jorth becomes Gustav Jorth, and it keeps going on. By your reckoning, it stopped. The last one was 18 years ago. Well, so the last 9 years ago, there were none. And 9 years before that, there were none. And 9 years would be this
So
year.
it's
of course.
feasibly been
27.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's
Maybe the
bad.
Bad things happen because they did.
That's real bad.
It's going to be a very annoyed presence, that's for sure.
That's so bad.
As you sort of manipulate the books and manage them, a couple of pieces of paper slip out from one of them, and you find a couple of notes that have been stuck in there, amongst others that don't mean much to you. But the two notes that you find, the first one is addressed to Oscar and says, "We'll never turn a profit if we have to keep paying so much money to the families of workers that die on the job. Logging is a dangerous operation, and we might be best served to provide some form of danger pay in one upfront but small sum of money, rather than to keep paying so much when one of them dies." Signed by some person you assume would be an accountant or something of that. Then there's an answer from Oscar on that note, Oscar being the great-grandfather. "Carl, we will do no such thing. Maintain the payments to the families. It's my money. I will do as I see fit with it."
Like that guy.
And this, like, from a, I guess, and maybe I don't necessarily, I guess Arn would would know a little bit as from his time deducing things. But it, especially maybe in this kind of period, do payments like that seem
Out of the ordinary.
out of the ordinary for sure, right?
Like there would have been payments. Any really successful above board company would certainly have had some compensation go to families of people who would lose an arm or who would die, obviously, something like that. But the payments being made are obviously sort of above and beyond, like
Gregarious. Yeah.
no joke.
Mhm.
So as you see, while I understand the principle behind the payments, there's a regularity to some of them that is a little curious.
Who decided to stop these payments?
Magnus, Astrid's father, he more than decided to stop the payments, we stopped the logging operations several decades ago. Magnus decided that the company didn't need him anymore. They were in fact bringing in a pittance compared to what they used to bring before, compared to a lot of the new businesses that Magnus had diversified the family into. And so he just decided to completely stop all the logging operations and just cut all of that out.
There's something I do not understand. Why every 9 years? Why not 10? Why not 5?
That's what I don't understand either. It's it's a year, once, twice, maybe coincidence, but
It's because the land remembers. Things grow and live and die in cycles. It's the way all of us humans live, and it's the way we will continue to live for probably many hundreds of years. And nature is no different. The old ways will return in time. Just a matter of if we find them again.
Father Stanislav looks very troubled by that. Elias, what are you talking about? This is very close to being. This sounds like heresy.
Well, it is heresy to you, perhaps, but you are in Uppsala, and here the old ways still reign supreme. I believe you will find that your faith, although it has a certain measure of guidance for you and to others who follow it, that the people here will not be easily swayed.
It sounds like you've been swayed, my friend.
Good
Right,
man.
right. Well, how
Your
about you be
father.
swayed out of my office? How about you be swayed out of my office and take this to the mansion, where I'm sure there's plenty of things for you to look at, and I can get back to my work here.
One last question.
The captain says, as you're doing that, Kevin says, I'll go warn the guy outside to ready the carriage.
Thank you, Captain. As always, you are a gentleman and a scholar.
Thank you. You're not bad yourself. Yeah, sorry, you wanted to say before
Yeah. Are there any assets that the family had locally, at least outside of the estate? Part of this is like Chad doesn't necessarily know like how banking works and like where people keep certain things. Sometimes, sometimes in media, people keep, oh, I've got my fucking diamonds over here in the vault of the bank, but not in my house. If that's a thing, it might be something that Arn would know about. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that question.
All right. Christian doesn't know much more than you, so we'll invent something that works for our world. So basically, what you know is that most people keep a lot on hand in in safes in their homes, but there is a very good banking system where people will store their things and paper money, not as far as dollars, but like bonds, stuff like that exist. So people certainly have more hard currency on hand than they do now, like art, money, jewels, precious stones, any of those things. A lot of that would be kept on site in a safe and so on and so forth, but there is also a banking system. He'll say most of their business was very urban located, a lot of it here and in some other cities, Stockholm, etc. Outside of town, since they shut down the lumber mills, there wasn't much. The family still owns a little bit of land in a small village outside of town called Westeros, where I believe Oscar grew up. We tried to sell some of that, but it didn't really work out. But it's a small value.
They own land in a town called Westeros.
Westeros. I thought the same thing when I randomly picked that town off the map. And I'm like, this is one of those things I'm going to regret putting in the game because
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me tell you, never create a bad guy in your campaign called Simmergul, because the players will immediately turn it into Smeagol. That's right. And then you'll be stuck for an entire campaign having to deal with them calling your big bad guy Smeagol.
Love it.
Things you learn in GMing.
And then you find yourself talking to yourself.
That's right.
All right, so most of their assets are on hand. They own some lands in
Yes.
Westeros.
Yes, that's
Is that
right.
how you said it?
Westeros.
Westeros.
There you go.
How many different ways can I say it?
I don't know, but I'm sure by the end of this campaign we will know.
All the ways.
Westeros.
As you're asking this question, take a note. You suddenly hear a strident scream outside, someone yelling very loudly, and then there's a gunshot, and then there's sounds of some sort of altercation. People outside screaming.
Reggie jumps up and he runs over by the door and he starts ferociously barking out towards the street.
Father Stanislav immediately starts running in the direction of to go outside.
All right, so let's do an initiative then, and we will then sort of carry it that way. So I'll use the cards, and I'll tell you what your initiative is. Remember that you can choose to swap amongst yourselves. All right.
Hooray.
So Arn 10. Slowest passes.
Oh, 10 is bad. The lower is the better.
Yeah, lower goes first. Father
That's fine for
Stanislav
Iron,
allowed
actually.
5. 7 for Elias. You guys slow. And 6 for 9. 6. I'm gonna go with 9 for
Definitely.
Katya. All right. And then I will draw some for other people. Well, So as you start to react, you hear that gunshot outside, you hear screaming, a bunch of different sounds. So Harn at 10, Father Stanislav at 5, 7 for Elias, and 9 for Katya. So we will go with Father Stanislav as being the fastest one in the room. What would you like to do? The dog, Reginald, is at the door, barking madly. The lawyer looks like he's gonna go to the window. What the hell is that ruckus outside? And start going to that window.
Father Stanislav opens the door and immediately goes outside looking, trying.
All right, so you start running, you'll run down, you'll get into the next zone. So you'll run down the corridor and into the first office and be ready to step outside. Would Reginald bound off after him, or would he stick around by you, Elias?
I think Reginald would bound out the door. He would go to try to see what's going on as well. Yeah, he just runs out the door full
So
sprint.
Reginald's out with you, this huge dog running alongside you, giving you a little bit of a booster there, Father Stanislav. And what about you then, Elias at 7? What would you like to do?
I think Elias, for a moment, he hesitates for a second, like he's not really sure what to make of all of this. It almost looked like maybe he was dozing again, like he was starting to kind of space out, and then the gunshot and all of this has brought him back into the moment. So he'll get up realizing that Reginald and his companion, I guess you could say, that he will try to run out the door after him.
Okay.
Making sure he grabs his attaché with him as he moves.
No problem. As you get into the office, the old lady is like, "What on earth is going on?" Trying to look outside the window. And
stay where you are, lady. Stay. Safer in here.
These towns, people are crazy now. And you guys can refer to the map on Albert if you want. I've put up the map and I've put up your personages. Katya, what would you like to do at 9?
Katya is going to run to the window.
All right.
And look outside and kind of see if she sees any friends.
There you go.
So when you look outside, Katya, you will notice a few things. One, you will see Krakauer, who seems to be in the middle of a struggle with a very broad-shouldered, very rough-looking man with long braids, a long beard. He's got furs over his shoulders with like the head of the wolf over his hand. You almost think that he's like a werewolf at first, but he's like bare-chested. He's got tattoos, all sorts of ink covering the top of his body. He's wearing buckskin leathers around his legs and hunter's boots around his feet. And he's got an axe in his hand, and he's struggling with Krakauer. And as that's what you can see down in the middle of the street. There you see some people running away and kind of screaming. You don't see the captain, and you don't see anything else from that vantage point where you're here. I'll bring them here so that they're closer to where you are.
And the window in front of me, is it able to be opened? And if so, is it locked?
It would certainly be locked, but you could unlock it. And if you want to make your action to move outside, I would let you move outside.
Yes. I'm
All
gonna
right, so
climb out the window.
You'll come out and be like in this little park area there behind the tree.
Okay.
And Arn, finally.
Oh boy, I rolled to fall in love. I get no. So there's windows on this side of the.
Yeah, there's a window like over where the couch is down here.
Okay.
Where Katya just went out. There's another window there and another there. There's none here, but I decided to be nice with Katya and give her a window there.
Okay. Yeah, his
map. I designed it. Damn it.
Arn's. I think we see Arn like kind of wants to follow, like his body like is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run out the door with those other dudes. He has spent some time working for the police department in America, so he knows a little bit about shooting people, or rather that people get shot in crazy ways in 1800s America. But he is a different man than he was, and also goes to the window to kind of look and see, and then of course seeing Katya open and extricate herself isn't going to let her by herself, I guess. So would crawl out the window as well. And he kind of says, perhaps as he's crawled out the window and kind of takes in this scuffle that's happening in the road here. He
goes back to America.
Yeah, right. He says he says, wow, this isn't really how it's done in America. This is
You've heard of the gangs of New York, like fighting in the streets. With, like,
yeah, I suppose it's probably it's not too far similar time.
Yeah.
I don't remember gangs of New York that well, other than the rabbits. Brutal. Yeah, it was horrible. But yeah, he kind of definitely remarks to the strangeness of this scene, because even being from Sweden, like you know, even in it's 1821, but seeing a bear sark isn't something that we see normally.
Yeah, this is definitely like like not what I was expecting on this tour of the city.
Yeah. Are there any other sounds he might listen as he is wont to do? Are there any other?
Yeah, so there are people screaming, and someone saying call the cops, et cetera, and there's nothing specific. Like from where you are, that's sort of what you get. There's people screaming and kind of running around, and that's really like what you have right now to work with.
Okay.
And of course, Krakauer and this Berserk sort of fighting it out down there.
Where's the captain?
All right. Do you want to just we'll get back to the beginning of the round then, as you ponder what you would like to do, and we will go back to Father Stanislav. You're at the door, so you can take a fast action. So okay, I'm going to start asking you about your action. So if you remember, every round you can take a fast action and a slow action. A slow action is most of the actions that you would do using a skill, a talent, fighting back, something like that. Your fast action, you can save it to dodge or parry at any point in time if you're attacked, or you can use it to move. A fast action allows you to move anywhere within the zone or into the next zone. So I would say the house is a zone, and then the street out there will be another zone. So you can use your fast action if you want to run outside and get a better look at what's going on and maybe do a slow action. Or you basically at this point can stay there and save your action to dodge, but you're not likely to get into trouble right now in the office.
Oh no, he's going to use. I'm going to use the fast action to get out and get a better look.
All right. So when you run out and come around the corner, you are greeted by the very grisly sight of the captain lying on the ground in a puddle of his own blood, as it appears another fur-clad berserk warrior with an axe is pulling his axe out of the captain's head with a sickening crunch
Oh
as he
boy!
pulls it out. And he turns and looks at you. And when he does, you can see that he's got, on top of all his tattoos and everything else, he has an amulet around his neck that seems to be glowing. And you can see the similar glow, sort of ghostly red glow in his eyes. And he screams totally at the top of his lungs, some ancient primal warrior scream that seems to come from really deep inside of him and beats his chest. And the blood that's on the tip of his axe that he's just pulled out of the captain's head just showers over him, and he seems to revel in it. What would you like to do? And on that note,
He pulls out the cross from that he has. His hands go to his rosary, and he starts screaming at him in Latin. Probably those who are not used to hearing him in full voice, it's kind of startling the volume with which he says it. But he screams at him, "Ecce crucem Domine, fugite potes adversae," and basically telling him, "Behold the cross of the Lord, flee away, ye hostile forces."
all right.
And he just keeps shouting it at him.
So I will give you a bonus, as I will ask you to make a fear check, but given your very powerful and commanding prayer there, I will give you a 2 dice bonus on your fear check. So you may choose to roll either empathy or logic, whichever one is higher.
It's gonna be empathy.
So roll your empathy, and then you can add 2 dice for the bonus that I am giving you to resist the fear that this supernatural event in front of you is causing. Remember, guys, that you also all have advantage, right? You get to add 2 dice to any one roll you want. Just have to call it out.
Beautiful.
And Chad,
I'm
you
looking for-
have that
I'm looking
one
for sixes.
extra dice that you
Am
can.
I
You're
looking
looking
for
for-
sixes or
You're looking for 6s.
2 6s?
Nice.
All right. Sorry. You were saying, Katya?
Chad has a bonus die that he can add to a roll, and you have a -1 that you can apply to an NPC.
Okay.
I have a bonus and a negative.
No, you don't have a negative. He has the negative to apply to.
Okay.
So, Father Stanislav, your prayer really emboldens you, strengthens your spirit and your soul. And not only do you stand up to this, wretched pagan beast that's in front of you, but you take a step forward with your cross held high, feeling, the power of your faith just strengthening you as you do it. And with your 2 successes, I will allow one of them to go to Elias whenever Elias comes running out and is confronted with the fear. You can take an extra dice on your roll also at that point, Elias.
Excellent.
Speaking of Elias,
I'm trying to chase after Reginald and to try to stop him from going out into the craziness that's going on. So if he actually is, I'm sure he moves a lot faster than I do at a full sprint. So if he makes his way outside, I'm just moving after him, trying to just stop him, yelling, "Reginald, stop! No!"
Right. So I do feel he would make it outside.
Okay.
And he would come out and he would
Yeah, I'm chasing right after behind him.
All right. So you move in. So I will ask you, when you come around the corner, you see Father Stanislav there with his cross yelling in Latin at this beast in front of him that is now blood spattered and has an axe that's dripping gore and brains, all that. The captain lying dead at his feet. And you see this sort of red energy emanating from the necklace and from this thing's eyes. So I would ask you now also to make a fear check using either logic or empathy, whichever one you like.
Okay, well, since my empathy is a 5, I'll do that.
And you get that 1 bonus die from seeing Father Stanislav there, so resolute and strong, and from having man's best friend at your side.
Excellent. That's 6 total I'm rolling. That is going to be 1 6.
That's good enough. You kind of hesitate as you come around the corner and see this totally mad sight, but the presence of Reginald and of Father Stanislav standing straight and strong in front sort of emboldens you, and you're going to stay there. What would you like to do as your action?
I'm going to. Is Reginald within arm's reach, or is he?
Yeah, he's stopped by where Father Stanislav is, and is like, barking at this.
Yeah, he's like hunched down. His his fur is rippled up on his back. He's just barking. And I'm going to actually move forward. I'm going to put a hand on his back, and people around me probably won't notice, but my hand will actually go into my my coat near my waist, and I'm holding on to something while I'm holding on to Reginald.
Okay, not a problem. Moving on from there, we will go to 9 and Katya.
So Katya wants to move closer, like out onto the sidewalk area.
Okay.
For the quick action. And then for the slow action, she wants to yell out to the guy that is fighting the butler and try to persuade him to stop attacking.
All right. So as you understand, with manipulation, while you can get some results with manipulation, you can't make someone do something that is against their nature.
Yes.
So you wouldn't be able to convince him to just stop fighting altogether. You might be able to convince him to fight somebody else, or to, that's really like sort of the other. This guy is zerking, right? So you're not going to be able to get him to just lay down his weapons and stop.
Yeah, she's going to kind of yell out and be like, "Hey, that's not who you want to attack. We're the ones that Astrid hired," and kind of tries to manipulate him into drawing him towards us and away from the butler.
Okay, go for it. So give me a manipulation and an empathy.
And then I have the gold gilded feather on top, so I get a +1 to my empathy rolls.
Perfect.
That's 4 6s.
Holy moly! All right,
Wow.
so that's a good lot of sexes. So of sexes, yes, there's a lot.
Ooh, hey now.
There's a lot of sex happening here.
Vaesen after dark.
This is what's going to happen. All right, he is going, as you say that, he's going to sort of shove Krakauer away and then turn towards you with his axe out. Now, when he does, you're going to see the red pendant and the eyes sort of glowing. So I'm going to ask you to make me a quick fear check. Again, use empathy or logic, but because Arn is near you, you can add a dice to your roll. So give me that, and then
my feather.
Then we'll see.
No success.
All right, so you're like, "Hey, you big bully, come over here and take care of us." And then he turns, and you see like the red and the anger and the he's like a murloc, right?
And so I haven't thought about that shit in forever.
Yeah.
That's what I do, man. I bring back the oldies but the goldies. So as you see him turn towards you, all of a sudden you're like, and you realize mistakes were made.
Ellie, what am I doing out here?
As he turns around and starts taking a few steps towards you, and you're pretty sure that on his action he's going to be coming to ask you a question.
Ooh.
And then we get
I
Arn.
hope he shaves it for later.
So you described these fellers as having red eyes and a red glowing necklace.
Yeah, and like there's like, kind of a red wisp or smoke that's kind of, emanating from their eyes.
This is all bad.
Oh yeah, there's nothing good here.
There's no good
No. Yeah, I'm gonna go with my gut right now and do something probably really dumb. I would like to run over to the guy and try to rip his necklace from his body.
Oh, snap.
Okay, so you're going to use
see
your
if-
move
to see
action to towards
to
them.
see if that would help at all. Maybe that makes them go away. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows? So we will say then. Let me just check if it should be just an agility or a close combat.
may be the
There's
short-
wrestle, push, grapple is a force check.
Yeah. But I think it's more of an agility thing personally, just because you're trying to. I mean, is your force higher than your agility? What's your best score?
No, I don't have force. I have
Right.
1 in agility.
All right, so go ahead and use your agility plus
Physique.
yeah, plus your physique, sick physique. And
I will use my the
Advantage?
well, I'll use the bonus that I'm guessing somebody threw my way in the
Katya, yeah.
chat. That's
And from
How
coffee.
it's-
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
nice.
I'll
Thank you,
use
coffee.
that. I'll use that first.
Sweet.
So that's five dice. Ooh.
All five. Yahtzee, come on.
Can I push this?
You can, and if you do, you will get a physical condition, but it will come after the roll.
Come on. Thank Odin. 2 6s.
Very
Nice.
nice. Very
Oh,
nice.
wow.
So not
Oh.
only do you manage to run up to him, and because he's so focused on Katya, when you approach him, like first of all, approaching him is an experience because like he's got this wolf's head over his
Mhm.
thing and the red eyes, and he's got like
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I am feeling it.
you got it. It's like it's right down in there. You're gonna need to go to the bathroom after this. And you reach out, and not only do you manage to grab the pendant and sort of rip it off from around his neck, you also do that and then sort of take a bit of a tumble and kind of move away from him enough so that he can't kind of take a backswing at you. And you pull it off, and once you pull it off, you see him kind of hesitate. You're not sure yet what it's going to have done, but you kind of see him kind of stumble a little bit, and he seems kind of a little unsure where to go next. But that was a very good move. All right.
And then do I get a condition? I get
Yeah,
is
so
it
you
just
get
the
the
first
first
one down the
condition.
line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So
That
the condition means
exhausted.
that you are at -1 for any roll that you make.
Okay.
Whilst you have the condition. Okay.
Wow.
Son, you got a condition. All right. Can we get sued for like quotes and stuff like that?
Thankfully, no.
Okay. So going back then to the top of the round, but now their initiative comes into play also. And they were going at 3, but first is Krakauer. And as the guy is there, sort of the wolf head guy, kind of not too sure what happens. You see Krakauer, having been pushed out of melee range with him, reaches into his jacket and pulls out a revolver, cocks it, and then without a second hesitation and just points it at the back of the head of this guy and fires.
Go Krakauer.
And it shoots Arn. Oh, wait.
Plot thickens.
Six ones.
That would be funny. And he gets a 6. So he gets a 6, shoots the wolf guy in the back of the head. Let me see what the wolf guy's
Nice.
toughness is. All right.
I guess we'll never know if my ploy worked.
No, he's not dead. He hits him a pretty good hit on the back of the head. And the berserk kind of stumbles forward as blood sort of sprays out and almost reaches you where you're standing, Katya. You just happen to be good enough on the side. And he kind of stumbles forward and he looks at you. And when he looks at you, you see that a good part of the side of his head is kind of like all messed up now and kind of damaged. And he really seems to kind of be unsteady on his feet. He still looks, like he's got a bit of fight left in him, but he's definitely kind of like, and you can see him kind of visibly sort of really losing a lot of steam as that's kind of happening. Krakauer will use his quick action, having used his slow action to shoot, will use his action to step around and come and stand in front of Katya, still aiming his gun at the Zerker. So then the two Zerkers will go. I'll start by the fun one, who's still on the other side and very active. He will, again, as I was saying, he was beating his chest with his axe, and now he steps forward and he's coming towards the father and the father, the writer, and the dog. It sounds like a bad joke. A father, a writer, and a dog walk into a bar.
I say, at least we're not walking into a bar, but
The Berserker.
That would be Arn and Katya.
right.
That's right. He's going to come up to you, Father Stanislav, unfortunately, and he's going to take a swing at you.
Did you say there was a way to interrupt initiative on other people?
Well, so yeah. So since you have not gone yet, in fact, even if you had gone, but you can now choose, if you wish, to use your fast action to try and dodge his attack, if you wish.
Oh, I see. And that would be basically, that's what supersedes. There's not a way to like.
Yeah. So
jump
what
in and
happens
try
is
to
if
fight
you
him.
dodge him, if you try to dodge him and you succeed, then you swap initiative with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you're going to gain the advantage on the next round on him.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So Father Stanislav, would you like to use your fast action to try and dodge?
Yes, please.
All right. So go ahead and make an agility and physique check. You're rolling a 6. You're looking for 6s. As a Zerker, he has 1 mental condition already, but that permits him to
1
add
6.
2 to his close combat. And his physique and his close combat. All right. Looking for 6s, everyone.
I got 1.
You got 1. He has 1 also. I actually don't know what happens when there's a tie, so I got to remember to check that out. But I will say, I will say that ties go to the attacker because that's how it's done in Shadowrun. So you have a tie, all right, but you took away his success also. So he actually manages to hit you, all right, but it's a glancing blow because you were kind of already trying to move out of the way. So he's going to hit you enough that it's not going to do a wound. It's not going to do a full. Actually, I'll have you take half damage from his axe, which does 2. So you'll take a physical condition, all right, but you won't take the full brunt of it. And I'll double check the rule to see what happens during the tie. But for now, we'll call it goes to the attacker. So he nabs you with the axe. It just kind of cuts through your jaggedy robe, and you see like the flesh and some blood exposed as like, you know, it takes a kind of a chunk out of you, and you sort of stagger back a little bit under his onslaught. The other one at the other end is sort of kind of, you know, doesn't really know what's going on, sees the blood on his hand, you see his eyes, the redness is kind of fading, and he falls on his knees in front of you, and he seems really lost, like he doesn't know what's going on or what's happening, and he's like, where am I?
Yeah, good call.
What's going on? And so loses his turn in doing this. Then we go to Father Stanislav, who has just received a wound, so you're at -1 on your rolls.
Okay. He's going to step right into him, and he's going to put the cross right on his place it right against the guy's forehead, and some more Latin coming. Impera tibi des pater, impera tibi des fils, impera tibi des spiritus sanctus, impera tibi majestis Christi, eternum de verbum caro factum, qui posser lute generis nostri tua invera piditi, and just pressing it hard against this.
I think that's more Latin I've ever heard in my life in one go.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
That was.
What is it you're hoping to accomplish with this, Father Stanislav?
Basically, whatever spirit is infecting this, get it out.
All right. What was your talent that you took, by the way?
My talent is Confessor, because I only got 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start off with 1, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Confessor kind of worked with the backstory. So,
No, that's perfectly fine. I was just wondering if there was something you could have applied. Here, the priest telling was I just want to check you may use observation motion when having a confidential, and that's interesting actually. Okay, so well, look, what I will have you do then is I will have you make me a manipulation roll. So give me manipulation and empathy.
Oh
Alright.
boy.
Nice. As a priest, it's got to have high.
oh, wait a
manipulation.
second. With the Confessor thing, doesn't it allow me to use my observation instead of my?
Yeah, but it's when you're having a confidential conversation.
Oh.
I'm not sure this would.
well, I'm talking to him in Latin. It's between me and the devil inside. I mean, confidential in plain sight. I don't know.
But you can use your advantage if you want.
Sure.
So you can add a couple dice to that roll.
All right. So advantage gives me how many more?
Plus two
Two.
dice.
Oh, okay.
Dos dice. How do you say dice in Spanish?
Oh, this is nice so far.
Got a guy who speaks Latin, but no one who speaks Spanish. What the hell is this?
With 8 dice, that is 3 6s.
Ooh, the 666. I like
Back
it.
to the 3 6s.
Yeah, and as a priest, you kind of feel
Number
a
of
little
the
dirty.
beast vanishes.
You feel a little dirty. So look, I will say this is what happens. So you do that, and when you do, you see him really kind of like take a step back, like your cross is in front of his face. You see that you see his necklace, the light that's shining from it sort of dims a little bit, and what it does to him is he kind of backs off and really kind of seems to be a little sort of afraid of you, and definitely looks like he's not going to mess with you anymore. He's kind of trying to sort of get around you to maybe try to go at Elias or something, but you've definitely kind of convinced him to not come and mess with you. And what I will do is I will allow again your prestation to give Elias an extra dice on whatever he wishes to do now, as he sees how, like, even after taking the axe blow, you were like in this dude's face, popping off the Latin, like, it was the
By the way, going back to a couple of minutes, going back to earlier in the session, suddenly that whole thing with him, his full height, he's at full height now.
Oh, nice.
He's standing.
very
up.
impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. And Elias, what would you like to do with this, seeing this impressive as he's bleeding, from his torn shoulder from
I still have a hand on Reginald's haunches, like on his back and his shoulders. I pull out what is beneath my coat, which is a pretty large knife. It's like a precursor to a Bowie knife, because we're timeline-wise, we're a little bit ahead of that still. And I, using the momentum of the father and using the fact that we're being attacked by these men, I'm going to show him how we handle things with the old ways. And I'm going to attack him with the knife.
All right, you're going to shiv.
You also have an axe.
So now, if I'm not mistaken, I get a +1 to my close combat because of Reginald.
Yeah, so Reginald's just gonna, like, as soon as you let him go, he's just gonna come charging and jump up at him and start biting at him, and it's gonna kind of like mess with him as you come in and you get the extra dice.
Double distraction.
I'm going to go ahead and use my advantage as well. And I believe I have on my sheet here that my knife gets a +1 bonus. Is that to the attack too?
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be, what is that? Physique, close combat.
Yeah.
+3.
+3 from your various bonuses.
So physique is 2, close combat is 1. That's
He
3.
is going to try to, since he didn't use his fast action, he's going to try to use it to parry you, basically.
Oh, snap. That's also 3 6s.
Yes.
You guys have the power of the devil. The power of the devil compels you.
Satan,
He got one.
Yeah.
He got one, so he takes one of your successes away, but it was still a very masterful stroke. So what happens is this: as you come in on him with the knife, he's so kind of between Reginald, sort of, using him as a chew toy, and Father Stanislav, like, bringing the righteous fury of God right into his face and really kind of messing with him. He doesn't really see you coming. Just at the last second, he kind of bats his axe away and it kind of hits your knife, but your knife still goes in like nice and strong and true right between a couple of ribs, and you kind of jack him up, and his blood gushes from his wound, and he tries to kind of push you away, and you're like, no, not this time, buddy. And you just sort of holding on to it, and he will take two. It's how much damage for your knife?
Yeah, 1 damage, it says.
All
I don't know
right.
if anything else happens, but just as one.
Well, with the extra dice, I'll give you an extra damage. With the extra
Okay.
success.
2 then.
Murder hero.
2, yeah, that's right. So, he's still got a bit of fight in him, but he's definitely like wounded, like really, really solid. Like you can see, like it's the blood's pumping out, and
Nice.
he's in trouble. All right, finally, Arn.
I think you skipped me.
Doesn't Katya go before me?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Katya. I'm sorry.
She went so fast we didn't even see it.
Please don't send Nancy after me.
Sally.
Sally.
Sally's coming to get you.
Creepy Sally. So, Katya, so you see that the Zerker in front of you seems to kind of has lost his will to fight.
The berserk.
And Krakauer is standing sort of in front of you, kind of trying to protect you, and he's got his gun up,
She is going to. She's just going to walk up to him, like go around Krakauer, and kind of put her hand on his shoulder now that he doesn't look like he's going to attack. And tell him.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to make out with him. I'm like.
This is only the first session.
This is
Session
going down
3,
right
she'll be
there.
making out with NPCs,
True enough.
She puts her hand on his shoulder and says to him, "It looks as if this was against your will. Are you going to continue fighting, or are you done?"
And he looks up at you and goes, I don't know. He'll kill me if I don't do what I was sent to do. He'll take me down with him into the earth. I'm sorry. I have to obey him. And you see his hand very kind of shakily and hesitantly moving back to his axe that's on the ground. He's like, I'm very sorry. I have to. Would you like to do? See, in this instance, if you wanted to do a manipulation check to convince him not to, now I think like that would work because he's like in such a sort of situation, state of mind.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use manipulation to kind of persuade him and be like, if you talk to us, if you give us information, we can help you, I swear. I'm going to go ahead and use my advantage. And because it's empathy, I get another one. 2 successes.
All right, so that's pre-exit. So you tell him, what do you tell him? Tell me what you tell him.
I tell him, we can protect you. We have powers too. We're special. We will make sure that he does not take you down into the earth, whoever he is, as long as you give us information and help us to help you.
So his hand trembling kind of almost picks up the axe, and then he's like, you're nothing like him. You can't stop him. You just can't. And he drops the axe and then sort of just kind of falls on his side a little bit. And the fight seems to have drained out of him. Very good job. Arn.
Arn would like to take up the axe.
Okay.
And I would like to use it to smash the amulet that I have absconded from this feller onto the
Okay.
ground.
So when you pick up the axe,
Oh,
I'm going to
no.
ask you.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to give me. I'm going to say logic or empathy, whichever is your highest.
Okay.
Okay. And given the circumstance and sort of everything else and the fact that what you've seen and all that, I'm going to give you a bonus of 2 dice on it. And
Okay.
so just roll me that and let's see what happens.
It's too easy. I really didn't want to draw the gun. I have 1 success.
All right, that's good enough. As you pick up the axe, you find yourself becoming angry. You find yourself being filled with rage, and you look around you at this city and you see the cobblestone streets and the buildings, and you realize you can't even see the sky because of all the dark clouds that are up there from the chemicals that are pouring out of chimneys and the big buildings around you and the smell of garbage and rot and just this press of humanity. And you just feel angry at all of it. You just want to smash and destroy all of it. And really just at the last moment when you feel like the thing to do would be to take this axe and just smash things, you kind of get a hold of yourself. You realize logically you're not acting like yourself. You're not being yourself. And knowing that you kind of, manage to sort of bring it back, and you very quickly put the amulet down on the ground and smash it with the axe, and it explodes into a bunch of shards that scatter all over into the snow. And as soon as it's done, you drop the axe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's on fire.
You drop it, and as soon as you drop it, you feel like all this anger and kind of rage that you had building inside of you sort of goes. I don't know if all of it goes. I'll let you decide that. If you feel
Sure.
that like there's a certain little soupçon of it that sort of remains inside of you, but most of it sort of goes out. And when you see the thing being shattered, the medallion, like you see like puffs of little red mist that sort of evaporate from it and then disappear, and then it's clear that the rest of the amulet becomes inert. Okay.
And I will kind of seeing if I have the ability to, I would yell across the cobbles, probably not really seeing what's happening in total down on the other end of the street in detail, but knowing that, being able to see that there is a tussle happening, I would kind of yell out from my place, like half on the ground, his amulet, take his amulet.
All right. Going back to 1, Krakauer, sort of seeing that this one's taken care of, starts to walk very calmly towards the other side. And as he gets close, cocks the hammer on his gun, aims, and fires at the other one.
Or that.
He shoots the amulet off of the man.
That's right. And as
I
you're-
considered it.
Trick
that
shot.
was my first go-to in my head, but I was like,
Nice.
no, that's not going to work.
And as you got your knife sticking into him and the dog's kind of going crazy, all you see, Elias, is you hear you feel like a breath of something really fast go by your head. And then you just hear like a cracking sound, and the side of the berserker's head kind of caves in a little bit. And you see a huge gout of blood shoot out on the other side. And he slowly sort of falls away as your knife slowly slips out of him. And he falls to the ground and doesn't move. And Reginald kind of keeps at him, but eventually kind of pulls back and stands in front of you and growls at this thing. Krakauer says, everyone okay?
Yes, I think so.
Hey, I got somebody we can get information from. She kind of starts like pulling him towards the carriage.
So you pull him up with Krakauer's help, stuff him up into the carriage. He finds, a piece of leather rope somewhere, and you tie up his hand. He's like, he's going to need a doctor. He's not going to survive the trip to anywhere.
I can do a medicine check. I I have stuff for that.
All right. Go for it. Do that. Anybody else needing a little bit of medical help? Are you good?
Nope. Elias is going to
I'm
pull his
just
handkerchief
exhausted.
out. He's going to clean the knife.
And his face.
Yeah.
Father Stanislav checks to see is the one before me dead.
Very much so.
I got 2 successes on the medicine check.
Okay. You managed to stabilize him enough that he's not going to die anytime soon. So I'll go around and ask each of you to what's the last thing you want to do, and then we will end the session here. So we'll start with Katya. What's the last thing you wish to do? You've checked this guy. You've stabilized him. He's going to be okay.
She's gonna kind of bring Sally up to her face and be like, "Hey, Sally, I did good," and then just sit there.
And you kind of feel like Sally concurs. She, you feel like she understands and she agrees with you. Elias.
Well, I finished cleaning the blood off with the knife, the fresh blood. And as I finish, I go to put the knife back. There is a little bit of some dried blood on the edge of it that's been there from before.
Mm-hmm.
And I place the knife back inside the sheath. And I look at Reginald, and he finally calms down. He walks over and he pads around me, and he sits down in front of me like a good expectant little boy. And I say, "Good boy, Reginald." I tussle his hair.
He seems very happy. He licks your hand. You see a little glint of like, yeah, in his eye, but Father Stanislav.
He kneels beside the corpse and reaches into his pocket and pulls out one of his oils, the one little vial of oil. Also pulls out his collar, his small stole, and wraps around his neck. And without even worrying about whether or not, what religion he might be following, he starts chanting in Latin as he blesses him. Peristum sanctum unctionem et suum pisidum misericordiam aduvete Dominus gratia Spiritus Sanctus ut pectoris liberatum te servet atque propertis elevat. Rest in peace, my child.
As you do that, you kind of get the strange feeling that somewhere deep inside that sort of almost half man, half creature that you just fought, there's a little piece of him that is happy and sort of content and relieved to hear these words. And you kind of feel like you've done a good thing. Like there's still parts of him that, that welcome this. Arn.
Arn will maybe find a piece of luggage that somebody has, or if
there's a bunch of people that were running around that dropped like purchases and purses.
No. Like, or if like from our carriage, or if Krakauer has a blanket he puts over himself when he's driving in this weather.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure. But just something to kind of, I guess, and if none of that, perhaps his jacket, just something to kind of take and wrap around this axe, because like something like this doesn't need to be on the streets of Uppsala.
There's another one down the street also, right?
And it's a clue, yeah. So he would definitely retrieve this object.
Excellent. And as you pick up the last axe, and you all sort of come down from the adrenaline and the fear and everything that's been going on, you can't help but notice and hear the 2 crows perched in the tree next to the barrister's office as they caw, perhaps gleefully and joyfully, and then take off and fly off once more into the darkened sky of the rapidly falling night here in Uppsala. And with that, we will end here for tonight. Thank you very much, players.
That was awesome, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. If you want to do a quick telling people where they can find you again, and then we will call this a night. We'll start with Kristen.
I'm Kristen. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I'm gonna call people out. You can find me at Darcy Reelish on Twitter, which is the main place I post. I occasionally remember I have an Instagram and TikTok. You can find me Saturday nights at Exquisite Corpse Presents, playing Candy and All the By Panic. Every other Saturday that we're ending soon. I think we only got 1 or 2 sessions left on Ladies of D&D for 12 Occulti, where I'm playing the demon who used tentacles to pole dance last week.
Oh,
It was awesome.
what else are they for besides that, right?
I have a couple other things happening. We do have Thursday night Spellburn Earth. We're playtesting the first episode of that, which will also run 4 weeks.
That's gonna be rad, y'all.
Yes, stick around. We are going to raid after all of this is done.
Excellent. And Kevin.
Hi, yeah, I'm Kevin. I'm found on the socials at Kevran Games, and I am the host and the game master of the Game Night Heroes podcast. I also am on the stream on YouTube of Murder Hobo Inc., where we do one-shots and other different campaigns. I play a bunch of different characters there. And yeah, this was a real blast. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It's good to be here.
Thank you very much. Robert.
Hi, so I am Phantom NJ on Twitch, Phantom NJ_D&D on Twitter. You can find me this coming Wednesday night. I will be hosting Lore Masters Arcanum on Blue Box RPG. You can also find me most Sundays on Time Lord Wife's channel, normally in the Discord moderating, or not when on Discord, that too, but in the Twitch channel moderating during her streams, occasionally running sessions there. And yeah, so I'm around. Check my Twitter. I'm everywhere. Not quite as much as Kristen, but not far behind.
He's literally everywhere, everybody.
He is. I just checked. He was right behind me. Very spooky. Yeah. Chad.
Woo!
Hey, I'm Chad. You can follow me on Twitter at RealCMG. You can also find me on Wednesdays and Thursdays on the Superior Adventurers Guild Twitch channel. On Wednesdays, I play Tenok Knucklebones, a halfling divination wizard who has big guns.
I missed a shout out for just out.
What's that?
I did not actually put the command in. I thought I had, but I will.
That's all right. And then on Thursdays, currently, I am running our Kids on Brooms game, which we'll be wrapping up in hopefully this week, maybe next week. Time has been a weird soup, so things get a little weird. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun. So check us out there. Also, right here on this channel, right? I play Arn.
That's right.
Excellent. Big thank you to all our spectators, but also to Kat, our technical goblin behind the scenes, making everything run smoothly. Thank you, all the players, everybody else. I'm Christian, your game master at the Bleak Season on Twitter. And we will see you here next week, same time, same bat channel, where we find out just why did the captain have to get hit in the head with an axe. We will miss him. Thank you very much.
I got to take
Really?
Au revoir.
We
Have a
are
good
going
night.
to raid into Homebrews and Homebodies. Got some friends over there playing some games. Thank you for tuning in. We are Rainbows and Razor Blades Productions, and I will see you tomorrow night for Chaos Curiosities, because I forgot I have that too.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for coming out. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.